Last July, President Trump declared himself the least racist person there is anywhere in the world. Why does he use racist phrases like the Kung flu?
The president doesn't.
Kung flu, I can name 19 different versions of names.
What the president does do is point to the fact that the origin of the virus is China. It's a fair thing to point out as China tries to ridiculously rewrite history, ridiculously blame the coronavirus on American soldiers. This is what China's trying to do. And what President Trump is saying, no, China, I will label this virus for its place of origin.
That's what he's saying by using the racist phrase Kung flu?
He is linking it to its place of origin.
What does he have to say to Asian Americans who are deeply offended and worried that his use will lead to further attacks of discrimination?
So the president has said very clearly it's important that we totally protect our Asian community in the U.S. and all around the world. So it's not a discussion about Asian Americans, who the president values and prizes as citizens of this great country. It is an indictment of China for letting this virus get here. And I would also point out that the media blames President Trump for using the terms China virus and Wuhan virus when they themselves have used these very terms. The New York Times called it the Chinese coronavirus, Reuters the Chinese virus, CNN the Chinese coronavirus on January 20th, Washington Post January 21st, Chinese coronavirus, and I have more than a dozen other examples.
Category, Kaylee. Kung flu is extremely offensive to many people in the Asian American community. To be clear, are you saying the White House does not believe it is racist?
To be clear, I think the media is trying to play games with the terminology of this virus, where the focus should be on the fact that China let this out of their country. The same phrase that the media roundly now condemns has been used by the media.
The media has never called it the Kung flu. Calling it the Chinese coronavirus and calling it the Kung flu are very different things.
The media and your network specifically,
called it the Kung flu.
The media and your network specifically have repeatedly used the term China virus and Wuhan virus, and then gone on to deride the president as somehow using a term that they themselves have never used. So we can go through CNN's history. I'd be more than happy to go through CNN's history. On February 9th, you guys talked about the Wuhan coronavirus. On January 23rd, you guys talked about the Wuhan coronavirus. On January 22nd, the Wuhan virus. I can write it all out for you and detail it for you in an email.
Yes, Justin. You've got to admit that. It is not the same thing as calling it the Kung flu.
Does the president regret using the term Kung flu, regardless of the fact that media organizations, including my own, had early on described the virus as the Wuhan virus? That is a different thing than saying Kung flu. Does the president regret using that term?
The president never regrets putting the onus back on China, pointing out that China is responsible for this, and in the process standing up for U.S. troops who are being blamed by China in a campaign of misinformation.
Going back to the issue of Kung flu, I spoke to Kellyanne Conway in March. She said that it was highly offensive and wrong to use that term. Does the president agree with Kellyanne Conway, or is he now saying that that term is not highly offensive and wrong? Because again, that was Kellyanne Conway's own words saying Kung flu is wrong.
The president does not believe it's offensive to note that this virus came from China and to stand up for our U.S. military, who China is making an active effort to completely defame, and that is unacceptable to the president.
You're okay with now? Again, just to go back to what I said to Kellyanne, as I said to Kellyanne Conway, she said that it was wrong and offensive. Are you saying that she was wrong to say that?
Chanel.
Are you saying that she was wrong to say that? A person at the White House used the term Kung flu. My question is, do you think that that's wrong, Kung flu? And do you think using the term Chinese virus, that puts Asian Americans at risk, that people might target them?
No, not at all. I think they probably would agree with it 100%. It comes from China. There's nothing not to agree. Okay, how about last question?